our our episode today is a completely different DTC brand. It's actually not even a DTC brand, right? It's we're going to talk about Tesla. Spoiler alert.
It is a DTC brand.
It
It
is.
is a
Okay. Yeah, that's true. It's a F direct from factory to your home brand. Yeah.
exactly.
And we've Lorenzo is going to, in his typical fashion, he's going to make some really clever mock-ups and do a different type of reviews mining, which I think is really interesting. And I'm going to talk about how to reject ideas. So stick around, and we hope you enjoy the show. Ciao. You guys are going to notice the format is a little different today because Lorenzo is going to do the walkthrough for the product page, and he's going to actually talk about his ideas first, and then I'm going to come back towards the end. Go for it, my friend.
All right, super excited. So let's quickly go through the mobile version of the product page. So as you can see on the top, we see a large image of the car with a call to action order now. And then if we scroll down, there are like 6 blocks, which basically represent, each one of them represent a feature and benefits of the car. So we have the safety section, the utility section with a couple of images. We have the all-wheel drive with some kind of like information about the engine. We have actually not the engine, more like the dual motor, I would say, because it's an electric car. Then we have some information about the range, the information about autopilot, because obviously Tesla has an autopilot functionality, some images and additional information about the interior. And then the last bit in this section is basically the ability to read some performance for both versions of the Tesla Y model. And then finally, the ability here to order it, call to action, or to compare it. Now, I want to talk about my first idea. And it's not really, I wouldn't call it a conversion rate optimization idea. I called it learning what's important to the user. So as I showed you earlier in my overview of the page is divided in 6 different blocks. And so first of all, those blocks are, the page is very long. People have to scroll the way down, but we don't have information about which one of these 6 blocks is the most important to the user. And let's say that these guys have done it in kind of like a random way. They put safety first and then interior at the bottom. So what I want to do is I want to understand what's important to people of those 6 blocks. So I actually did an amazing looking wireframe.
It's really good. No, it's really good.
As always, apologies to the designers that follow our CRO show. But basically, my solution is here we have control, and here we have variation. So what I'm doing here is, first of all, I am adding this simple like white space because I wasn't sure how to move this part above. And then just below that, what I'm doing is I'm introducing 6 anchor links. And each of these anchor link, when the user clicks on it, gets redirected and scroll down where each of these 6 blocks are. And in particular, when the user is scrolling down, the anchor links stay sticky on the top. So the user can always go to the part that they care about. Now, what I would do here is I would want to understand how many people are clicking on each of these sections, because I would want to understand which ones are the most important ones to the users and the most clicked ones. And then what as a kind of second follow-up test, what I would do is I would rearrange these 6 blocks based on which ones get the most clicks. So for example, let's say that interior got the most clicks, and then autopilot, and then range, right? Well, now we're displaying the three most important ones that the user has shown with the data by clicking on it towards the end of the page. And it doesn't make any sense, right? So we want to rearrange that and put those three at the top.
Well, not only the sequencing, but if you find that the interior gets the most clicks, you may want to actually expand on the interior box and have more details, where that's what people are looking for.
Yeah, so this is exactly like what I had in mind as a third test, as a kind of iteration test as well. Maybe, you know, some of these 6 blocks are not clicked at all because people they don't really care about that. So maybe what if we tested removing the range section? I'm just like, you know, giving an example because nobody clicks on that and nobody spends a lot of time reading through that. Well, now, you know, we can remove that and replace it with another feature/benefit that customers I've mentioned to care about. So what I'm trying to do here is, in a page that is very, very long, I'm trying to give information to people that they care about in the decision-making process, rather than just like, you know, randomly, you know, decide on how to display and give importance to different features and benefits of the car.
Love it. Yeah, love it.
So this is what I would call, Rishi, a sequence of learning tests, because now, you know, with test 1, 2, and 3, they're not really meant to. Sure, you know, I'm sure some metrics are going to change based on that. But the main goal of these tests are to learn what's important to the user according to the data, according to where they're clicking, how much time they're spending on each section, and so on. And as you said, once I learn, I should be doubling down, tripling down, 10x down on what I learned. Because if nobody cares about range, not only I will remove that part, but I will explore additional ways to increase the motivation or to reduce the friction about what I discovered to be important to the users. Let's talk about my second idea, which I called what makes Tesla different. So something that I realize is that, and you know, one thing I want to specify is that Tesla, this model in general, Tesla doesn't have reviews on the product pages. So I couldn't do my usual reviews mining approach, where I analyze customer data and customer reviews, and based on that, I would come up with a bunch of ideas. But what I've done instead is I watched a bunch of like YouTube videos of people reviewing the Tesla that they bought, the model, why did they bought. I've gone through like some Reddit posts that people posted about when they both bought the car, but also after a while they owned it. And I don't own a Tesla. I don't know anybody that owns it, unfortunately. But what I realized from this kind of like qualitative data research that I've done is that buying a Tesla is very, very different than buying a normal car. From the fact that, for example, they don't have dealers, so you can't go to a Tesla, you know, friendly dealership in New York or in London and buy a car there. You can't. It's not their business model. The only way to buy a Tesla is actually going on a website and buy it there. So there's a few other things that I discovered that I was not aware of. So what I'm trying to do here is I want to educate people about what sets apart Tesla from the traditional type of like way to buy cars, but also what makes Tesla different. So what the suggestion I have here is, and again, you know, please don't judge my design choice because I'm not a designer, but it's just like a wireframe, right? So what I'm trying to do here is I've added a section that says new to the Tesla experience, because maybe, you know, not everybody that lands on this website has owned a Tesla before, right? I'm quite sure that most of the people that land on the website have never bought a Tesla before, because it's still quite young company compared to other car companies. So what I put here was new to the Tesla experience, don't miss these three things that make Tesla cars unique. And then when people click on it, there's this modal that appears with the following copy. There are three things that make Tesla cars unique. First one, benefit. Save up to 11,400 by going electric, and then more copy that focuses on the fact that the electric car option versus the gasoline one is cheaper, because you end up saving up to $11,400 in savings over 6 years. The second benefit is, I didn't know this, they come to your house or whatever location you are, like the office or even at Starbucks, to repair, obviously for minor repair, to repair the car. So what I put is repair services at your own location of choice. Our mobile technicians come out to your location, home, office, Starbucks, and repair your Tesla there. No more need to spend money on rental car while you're at the repair shop, which is an awesome benefit. I didn't know that. I was not aware of that, but that makes sense because they don't have a car dealerships, right? And then something that it's very important to their model is the super recharge network that they've built, right? So they have over 30,000 super rechargers networks, which are basically the recharger stations. So what I put as a copy here is, with 30,000 plus superchargers, Tesla owns the largest electric charging network in the world. That gives you 100% peace of mind when you're on the road, and especially on long distance trips. Because obviously, one of the major anxiety and objection here, well, will I be able to go? Obviously, this is great for using the Tesla in my main city, but what if I need to go from LA to Las Vegas? Will I be able to do that? And that kind of lowers that anxiety and gives people peace of mind.
Yeah, I love it. Really, really good. And if you can just scroll up a little bit, just a little bit. Yeah, just 1, 2, 3. So part of the way I kind of think about conversion optimization is, it's like, as Lorenzo was talking about it, and this is what I want the users to do in the show, is that don't look at ideas literally.
Yeah.
We're not trying to show literal ideas, but try and kind of like add on to it, explore new ideas, and they could be total duds. In fact, you'll see in my presentation today, I'm going to talk about ideas that I'm rejecting, but I want to I was thinking about how would I improve Lorenzo's already excellent idea. And one thought I had was that, what if we were able to, what if Tesla had a simple piece of JavaScript code that was able to identify the geolocation of the user? So what you could then do is, right now, the gas prices in the US are historically high. So we could kind of with point number one, we could actually play on that, and we could say, the current price, the average price. And if we know the location, we could actually say the current price in Michigan is, X dollars. And based on the average driving distance, you would actually, if you bought a Tesla today, you would save XYZ dollars. And if you're not able to identify the geolocation, then you can show the average US price. Is that part of your ideas? You're going to talk about that?
You're spoiling my
Sorry.
But this shows that we don't look at each other's ideas, right?
That's right. Please proceed.
It's part of my bonus idea that people can.
Then I should talk. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it. Awesome.
People can take a look at if they subscribe to the newsletter in the comments.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah, your turn, buddy.
What I'm going to talk, I'm showing the desktop version of the website just because it takes more. I like the real estate, but we're not actually going to talk about it all today. So I'm just going to get rid of that. I'm going to talk to you guys about actually something that I've not spoken about before, and I hope to talk about this more and more. There are, for any website, you can have 10,000 ideas. The challenge is not having ideas. The challenge is knowing what ideas to focus on. And I think this is, so therefore, unfortunately, because of the format of our show, we only show you guys the ideas we selected. which actually does not have much learning because you're only seeing the ideas selected. What you're not seeing is all the ideas that Lorenzo went through that he rejected, all the ideas that I went through that I rejected. So I thought, it'd be very interesting if I can show you guys some ideas that on surface are actually good ideas, but I still rejected because it takes a lot of courage to reject an idea. And we tend to get emotional, especially the more time, like Lorenzo made the mock-up, the more time you spend designing something, thinking about it, you get more and more attached to it and you don't want to make changes to it. And this is actually the death of CRO because once you start getting emotionally attached, you're making the same mistakes that clients made. The reason why Tesla doesn't experiment as much is because they're emotionally attached. That's why you didn't outside consultant. So don't make that same mistake, right? So what I did was I followed my normal process of deconstructing the page and trying to see what the opportunities are. And my first idea was over here, there's a message that says independent motors, digitally controlled torque to the front and rear wheels. Now, one thing that I know is that people who are switching to Tesla, again, I'm focused on people that are new to Tesla. If someone is coming to this page and they've already had a Tesla model, 2-year-old model, their behavior is very different. And I don't even think that many of these details matter to them, right? But for someone who is coming from a Toyota or from another car and has never bought an electric car before, that's their mindset. So what I've done here is, it's a little small. Hopefully, let me just, I don't think it's going to help, but what I've done over here is simply I've added a call to action over here that says, why this matters. And because I know that, this whole idea of independent motors, digitally control, like people like, I'm not used to this kind of format. So this was my first idea. And the concept is very simple. For a skimmer, they would look at this and they would say, that's enough information for me. A digger is the one who would say, I need to learn this. So you're not redesigning the page, but you're still satisfying two groups. And when you click on it, we can show a light box. We've talked about this before. Another idea that I had was that I want to personalize the sales pitch depending on if the shopper is buying a Tesla for the first time or already a Tesla owner. So over here, I just simply, there was some white space available. So I simply said, have you ever driven a Tesla? I use the word driven because even if you've driven a Tesla, you are actually different than, you don't have to have owned it to know what a Tesla is all about. So I simply asked, have you ever driven a Tesla? And then I thought I could actually make this idea even better. So when someone says no, because that's the group I'm most interested in. And then over here, I'm asking, how long have you been looking for a Tesla? Just started, 6 months, 6+ months. What I'm trying to figure out is how familiar they are with where are they on their shopper journey. And then the idea is that, if you click on just started, then I would personalize the content almost like a salesperson would if you walked into a Tesla showroom and he said, how long have you been looking for a Tesla? He's like, I've actually never even thought about a Tesla. That's a different sales pitch versus if he says, I have been eyeing I don't own a Tesla, but I've been eyeing buying a Tesla for 2 years. That's a different sales pitch. It doesn't have to be different in terms of content, but it's different in terms of tone. Right. And so, there is opportunity. So this was my second idea and I was going to end it over here. And I thought both the ideas were kind of strong. And then in the process of deconstruction, in the process of kind of exploring it further and further, I landed on this page, on the safety page. This is connected from the product page. And when I landed on this page, I studied this page and I actually came to a conclusion. My conclusion was, Lorenzo, actually, this ties into what Lorenzo was talking about as well. He was talking about there are these 6 content buckets. Which one matters the most? Now, of course, I'm bringing my bias here, but I've come to the conclusion that the safety of the Tesla is actually the most important detail for the buyer, because the thing is, it's a completely different architecture. For my wife, for example, the idea of sitting in a car that is a giant ass battery and the idea of getting into an accident and having a chemical fire is traumatizing. And, the biggest challenge for Tesla is not the fact that people are concerned about, of course, that is also a concern, like, will I run out of juice before I get to my desk? I get that. But the bigger concern is this is a completely different type of car. I've bought 5, most people who are buying a Tesla probably have bought 5 cars in the past. It's not like teenagers who are buying this. So that means they've had an entire adult lifestyle using an automobile that was gasoline, typical mechanical machine. This is a completely different architecture. It's like moving from Windows to Mac. So the question is not about like, will this have performance and stuff like that. It's for me, mostly it's like, how will this disrupt my life? And so to me, I felt, and again, Lorenzo's idea is a very good one because he's going to be able to prove if safety is actually a feature people care about. For my concept, I decided that safety was something that I wanted to double down on. So once I decided that, and this whole reason I'm making the show is that I actually rejected these ideas. I said, you know what? I'm not going to waste energy on those ideas. I'm going to focus on this promising idea. So here's what I did. So this is the thing I wanted to focus on, because once I deconstructed the page, I realized that this was the primary concern. Now, what would I do? So here's what I would do. So now the question is, okay, well, so really my insight was actually not to optimize this page, but to actually, so this page actually leads to safety page. But my idea was to actually understand, do exactly what Lorenzo did for the product page, by adding all those feedback mechanisms to understand how people are consuming content, but to actually do it on the safety page. Because if the safety is a primary criteria, I want to understand how people are consuming this content. So what are some of the things we could do? The first thing I would do is I would add feedback beacons to understand the sentiment. So for example, if over here, they've got all
Can you
this
show
content.
people? Can you show people what a feedback beacon is? Because I don't think people know that. Because I think it's
so
freaking great
so
idea.
example of a feedback beacon is over here. So it's just simply we're asking this question, like, did this make make sense? We have whenever you are showing a block of content. Let me see if there's a better example, but I don't think I have one. So it's basically this little thing where you're adding this text, did this make sense, for example. So the idea would be that, in the safety section, for example, after the video, you could add feedback beacon saying, did this video address your question? So I want to put it at all, like, for example, over here, did we fully explain this feature, right? And so that's one thing. So at all locations, I would add. The other thing I was do again, so this idea is now I'm going all into analytics, and I would basically spend time, I would add tracking to see how long people linger on the page, right? So using Google Tag Manager, I would see how much people came to this page, how long did they spend. I would add tracking at all locations to see where users are what users exploring on the page. And then what I would do is I would personalize for consumption patterns. For example, if I ran a limited experiment where we'd ask people if they prefer reading on a screen on physical paper. So this is an external idea, because my thought is that, first of all, Tesla is not an impulse purchase. People probably spend months researching it. And the thing is that what's really interesting is that I personally enjoy consuming content in written form versus on a screen. And so imagine if we could figure out the idea is that we could figure out, if people prefer reading on a screen or on physical paper, and if they are the type of people that prefer physical paper, we could send them a brochure that, gets mailed to their home. It's a little more expensive, maybe a couple of bucks, but actually they can lie down at night and they can it's a physical book, and they can read about this. I feel consumption. So what I care about as a marketer is consumption. I really care about consumption, right? If people are consuming my content, they are being influenced by me. If they're not consuming my content, they're not being influenced, and people have different preferences. So these are 4 ideas of things that I would do on the safety page. And the reason I was able to invest my time, because I only have an hour to work on these ideas on this, was because I had the courage. The point of the show is that I rejected these ideas. I could have spent another 30 minutes exploring these, then I wouldn't have had any budget left over for that third idea. So I rejected these to focus in on that. And I really think that the ability to be able to reject ideas is such an important part of knowing what to focus on. And that is my
yeah, my favorite is definitely the feedback beacon. We should do an episode of giving people ideas or where and how that approach can be done on not just on product pages, right? Across any website. I want to say one last thing that I just thought about. So when you go ahead and pay for the car, you first pay for a deposit. I think it's like $600 or something, and then I don't know exactly what happens after you pay for the deposit, but what happens is that sometimes people pay for the deposit and then they don't buy the car. They decide not to buy it, right? So to me, those people are super interesting. I would want to talk to those people, because those people were able to pull the trigger and pay for the car, maybe like, you know, like 1% of the car, right? Because maybe the car is like 60K. In this case, it's a little bit cheaper, but I want to know what happened. What caused them to like, okay, I'm gonna pull out $600, and then I'm not gonna make the bigger purchase, right? And I'm gonna waste $600. To me, that's the cohort of people I want to talk to.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And think about what a genius move this is by Tesla, because Tesla goes back to their investors and goes back to the market and say, look at all these people. They haven't shown interest by saying, I'm interested. They've actually put their money down, which Tesla then converts into revenue, raising capital. So it's a genius idea, but I totally agree that if you can kind of really get into the brains of the people that put the $600 down, and what are they going through, why did they not buy, you could learn some really interesting insights, right? And the whole purpose of I love that idea. It's a great idea.
Cool. Well, that's pretty much it, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, enjoyed the ideas that we had, what we shared, our thinking and our processes, would be grateful to actually, if you could subscribe to our channel, add a comment. If you want to share with us what you would change about this product page, that would be fantastic. It would help us continue recording these type of episodes.
I have just one request, and I have one request for every episode. If you watch the episode and if you like it, share that episode with one person in your life who's actually could be a CEO, could be a marketer, could be a copywriter, could be a designer. Share it with one person who would not have discovered our show, and we'd be very grateful, because ultimately we want to get in front of as many people as we can. So thanks for your time. Totally. And we will be back with yet another episode in the next few days. Ciao.
Thank you. Ciao.